All right. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, as Joey mentioned, apologize for the little delay there with may have been an issue with the link, which is pretty rare, but we glad we were able to resolve it. So I know some more people will be jumping on here, and we're live in some of our other social platforms here, our private communities as well too. So we'll keep an eye out for that for any questions you guys have. But really excited for today's weekly AMZ Insiders Live training. We have a special guest expert with us here. Leslie, really appreciate you joining us. I'll let you introduce yourself. I will share with everyone. I know Leslie is the CEO or co-founder, I guess co-owner of my little link around there with, sorry, my mic, one quick second here and fix that. There we go. Sorry, but it's co-founder and co-owner of Riverside Consulting, one of the most respected really teams in the industry. Maybe you could share a little about the size of your team and kind of some of the stuff you guys do. But in this world of Amazon and focusing on growth and profitability, we do get a lot of you all asking us questions, whether you're here in the US or overseas, and issues that people run into on Amazon. We've certainly lived that, having sold on Amazon for a long time. And I think, Leslie, you guys really, I think, are the leaders in the space and what you do. And so often, again, we have our own experience just from our self-selling, but when you really need to get into these issues, you need someone with like a lot of expertise. And I know I went to your all event down in Florida last year, I think Tampa area, which was was it Surge?
Yes.
Yeah, Surge, which was really awesome. And I got to hear you on stage too, kind of share some of your own story and kind of origin story with yourself and your family. And it was pretty inspiring. So yeah, I really appreciate you joining here with us here. And again, some of you guys, we're on Zoom here, but some of you guys are in some of our other communities here watching, but definitely make sure you pay attention, because some real good stuff to make sure you guys can be successful selling on Amazon. You got to understand how to do it, or if something does go wrong, maybe how you can go about getting some real expert help. So Leslie, with that, I'd love to hand it over to you for some more intro and let you take it from there.
Well, thanks so much for that great introduction. I really appreciate it. So my name's Leslie Hensel, and as mentioned, I'm co-founder of Riverbend Consulting. We're about 6 years old now. My partner, Joe, and I actually met because I was working on suspensions for sellers, and he was referred to me by someone, and his own Amazon account was down. He was panicking, freaking out, and had already appealed a whole bunch of times. And I wrote an appeal for him and got him back up on the first go round. So a couple weeks later, he called me and said, "We should do this as a business. You can run the operations side and I can do the sales side." And it's worked out pretty well. We have 85 employees now, including a whole bunch of ex-Amazonians here in the States. People who've worked at Seattle at the Amazon headquarters, who've worked at Grand Forks, who've worked in Arizona at the different Amazon offices for account health, seller performance, and other groups. So I've been an Amazon seller myself since 2010. So I've lived it from both sides. I know how it goes on both sides. So we're very empathetic towards sellers who have difficulties, because golly gee, if you've never sold on Amazon, you don't know how terrifying it is when your ASIN goes down or your account goes down, or now the new thing, your brand registry is blocked. It's so frustrating. And so we really do bring the empathy to the situation, as well as the expertise from the members of the team.
Yeah, that's interesting. The brand registry one. That's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a new thing. Actually, I should have had it in my lovely slides coming up, but I will add a bullet point in my mind to get there, because I bet you someone on this call has had a brand registry issue. I would bet money.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I'll keep an eye on the chat. I know Joey will as well too. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. If Leslie happens to see it, so be it, or for something we'll bring it up. Otherwise, at the end, we can we'll make sure they're all shared with Leslie, because it is a great opportunity to have Leslie here. And again, talk about a huge team, 80 team full of experts. It would have been great to have, I'm sure, any of your top members come on, but for Leslie yourself to come on and share the expertise yourself is awesome. So we definitely appreciate it for you guys here watching. Make sure you guys pay attention, because it's can really make a big difference to have some insight, and also just kind of know where to go, where you guys, when we come across these issues, because it's pretty scary. I know I've lived having our account suspended over the years. It's a scary thing, but it's also, there's solutions. And so yeah, Leslie, we'll keep an eye on the chat for you, and it's all yours. Hopefully you should be able to share a screen of any issues. Let me know.
Great. And you know what's interesting too, because you mentioned your account being suspended before. People think that account suspensions only happen. Did that share? I don't think it did.
It did. Yep.
So it's got the slides. Okay.
Yep.
So the thing about account suspensions is people think that it only happens to small guys, or it only happens to big guys. It only happens to certain categories. It happens to everyone. And I'm here to tell you, y'all, my largest client that I've gotten unsuspended does $1.5 billion a year on Amazon. Billion with a B, on Amazon only, in the US only. And then our smallest clients are people who've never sold a dime on Amazon, but their verification was blocked, something was blocked. So that's really crazy. So what we're going to talk about today are some tips and tricks to avoid suspensions. The first thing you need to know, though, is what are the top suspension types right now? What is happening out there in Amazon land? Why are they taking people down? So I've got 4 to review here. The first most common for account level is related accounts or linked accounts. So people call it related accounts, other people call it linked accounts. What it really means is that Amazon believes that you own an account aside from the one that you're working on right now, or that you're selling with right now, that has some kind of enforcement action against it in the past. Or it could be an account that is taken down right now, and then related accounts to it are taken down as well. So I'll explain why Amazon does this. Let's take a quick example.
Oh, and Leslie, just real quick, just in case some people are on their phones, are you able to hit kind of into presentation mode just so it makes it a little bit bigger
Sure.
on the slides? That's the way
Sure.
I can, or on the bottom right there, I see the little presenter button there too.
Oh,
like all the way to the bottom right.
I've got to switch screens. Sorry. 1 second. Oh, the technology, y'all.
All the way to the bottom right to the little next to like the.
Yeah, I've got it on another screen. I have multiple screens,
oh, gotcha.
So I just need to change my screen, which I think it will let me do if I share again. Sorry, y'all. Always the technology.
It's all good, and if worse comes to worse, it's just, it helps some people if they're on their phones, they can see it a little bigger.
Let's see if this is it. Is it full screen?
Perfect.
Okay.
It is. It looks awesome.
Woohoo! Yeah. I did the technology, y'all. So let's say that you are selling items on an account. It is suspended for counterfeit. If you have another account available to you, Amazon is concerned you're going to port that counterfeit inventory over to that other account. Or let's say you got busted for drop shipping in the past, or code of conduct. They don't necessarily want you selling again on the platform. So they detect that open account. They suspend the new account. The problem is sometimes there are false positives. So Amazon will actually take you down because you had a relative, you had a friend, you had a buddy from college, you had someone you used to live with, or you had an account way back in the past, or while you were with another company. And if there's action taken against any of those, it can take you down as well. The second Most common right now for account takedowns is code of conduct for drop shipping. There is a lot of drop shipping going on out there. There's okay and not okay drop shipping on Amazon. The not okay is where you're not the seller of record. So that's where you order something on Amazon and a package shows up at your doorstep and it's from Walmart. It's from Target. It's because someone was just using the technology to fill the order from another retail store. Amazon doesn't like that. Neither does Walmart if you're selling on Walmart. So those suspensions are really tough right now. It's very hard to get back, and Amazon will hold your funds permanently. The third most common right now is review manipulation. So that is where you're asking for positive reviews, you're paying for reviews, you're giving big discounts for reviews, you're giving free products for reviews. And here's the kicker that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people put inserts into their products asking for those reviews or saying, hey, if you give us a review, we're going to give you free product or 50% off or whatever it may be. If Amazon finds those inserts in the warehouse, they'll actually require you to remove all of that inventory before you get your account reinstated, which is very expensive and can really hurt your BSR. And then finally, right now, there's still so much around the Inform account verification. Ever since the Inform Act, and all of y'all who sell on Amazon know, in April, May, June, you had to verify your account. You had to send them documents, confirm things, sometimes do a video verification. Since then, there have been a lot more verifications in general, especially if there's anything that looks fraudy in the account. They're having verifications just to get funds. So let's jump real quick to top suspension types for ASINs right now. The wonderful thing about Amazon that used to, if they didn't like something on the ASIN level, they'd take down the whole account. Well, now they let you fix things on an ASIN level. The number one thing we're seeing that's made a comeback is inauthentic. Used to, that was like the original reason to suspend accounts. Went away for a while, now it's back. The important thing to know about inauthentic suspensions, you have to have great invoices and you have to know where to find them. So that means invoices where the information on your Amazon account matches what is on the invoice. And most importantly, they want to have suppliers that are searchable. There are investigators at Amazon who are going out there looking at these suppliers. They want to see that they have a website. They have valid email addresses, preferably domain name email addresses. So it's going to Joe Smith Company, not going to gmail.com or at gmail.com email addresses. Next is restricted products. Oh my goodness. There are so many false positives in this category. If you sell anything that is antibacterial, that cleans things, if you sell any kind of a supplement product, if you sell anything in health and beauty, this can be claims like it's going to give you the most beautiful skin. It's going to make your dark spots go away. Amazon doesn't like claims. They also don't like a lot of words like anti-inflammatory. And sometimes bad actors will go in and put words into your keywords that will take down your products as well. There's two types of condition Amazon is enforcing right now. One is expired and one is used, sold as new. With expired, the most important thing to know is that the dates on your products need to be readable. Sometimes the machine printing from the manufacturer, it doesn't show up well and people freak out when they get the product and complain. Or if it's an overseas product, it has the month and the date reversed here in the US market, and people panic because they think something's expired. Used, sold as new, a lot of times it just means the box was open. So if you sell anything where the box can easily open, the seals are broken, it's really important to make sure that things are closed really thoroughly, because if someone receives something open, you get one of these used, sold as new. And finally, the dreaded intellectual property. Intellectual property is so tough for sellers right now, especially resellers of all kinds. You can get intellectual property complaints for trademark, for patent, for counterfeit. Counterfeit, a lot of times they're done without a test buy. So someone is saying that it's counterfeit. These are usually brand owners saying that it's a counterfeit product, but they didn't do a test buy. You can fight those by showing that you have good receipts, but that doesn't mean that they're easy or fast to overcome. So really quick, I've got some Q4 do's and don'ts because there are some special things to know for Q4 around enforcement at Amazon. Amazon is really cracking down on sellers during Q4. So right now in the pre-peak period, what they're really looking at is the catalog. There's a lot of enforcement right now around bad variations, being on the wrong listing, anything catalog oriented. Then during peak, they're very focused for merchant fulfilled sellers on delivery and for FBA sellers on product quality. So do's, ensure great quality for every single product. There's real temptation, especially for resellers around Q4. You find a great deal, you find the hot toy, you find something really exciting, and you get as much inventory as you can and ship it to FBA. And you skip, a lot of sellers skip that quality assurance step where they're making sure the product is in great shape, it's beautiful, it is in gift giving condition. If anything, you need to go the opposite way and be more stringent during Q4. The reason is, if you get complaints during Q4 and Amazon takes down your product, it's the busiest season of the year. It can be really hard to get your ASINs back up quickly because Amazon is just behind on ASIN reinstatements at that time. Number 2 is watch your FBA fees. So y'all, I've got a story for you of something that happened yesterday to a seller I know. He sells in clothing. He has a really hot selling item for Q4, super hot selling. He has one variation that sells more than all of the other variations together. It's a particular color that sells more than everything else combined. Out of the blue, over the weekend, Amazon changed the FBA fees because they said the dimensions of the pink item were oversized, and his fees went from $8.50-ish to $18 for the same item. It is a mismeasure, obviously, happens to be the one he has the most inventory in the warehouse. Now he's super panicked because since they made it oversized, it will put him over his limit on oversized, and he could have massive fees for that. You've really got to keep an eye on your FBA fees and make sure there aren't any dramatic changes during the holiday season when you've got a lot of inventory in. Keep in mind that all the fees are higher for peak. You are allowed up to 20 remeasures per month, remeasure requests. That is when you write into seller support and you say, hey, the dimensions or the weight on this product are inaccurate, please remeasure. If they play dumb, which they will do, then you say, I need a Cubiscan, Cubiscan, a Cubiscan. A Cubiscan is it's a box, it's clear. They put the product in and it measures the weight and the dimensions. Sometimes they're really sloppy with how they do the work, so that's why the weights and measures are bad. Sometimes the Cubiscan hasn't been calibrated for God knows how long. So again, keep an eye out on these fees because all of a sudden, this friend of mine went from very profitable to unprofitable on this very fast selling ASIN that he's going to move probably 50,000 units in the next 2 months. So he immediately submitted a case to get it remeasured. Thirdly, this is the time of the year for managing your reimbursements and refunds. Same thing as the last point. Amazon makes more mistakes in Q4 with your inventory than all the rest of the year combined, which stands to reason. Think about how much inventory they are running in and out of those warehouses. Products get kicked under shelves, things get lost, stickers get torn off. Sometimes in transshipment, they'll transship to the wrong warehouse and something just sits in a container. So you really do have to manage your refunds or reimbursements, whatever you want to call them, Some people do this themselves. Some people hire a firm to do it. Our company does it. If you hire a company, a few suggestions. One is make sure that they are not using AI to file cases. Amazon requires that cases be manually filed or you can get your account suspended. And I think there's some real temptation by some service providers to say, oh, with AI, they'll never know. Well, I don't underestimate Amazon's ability to figure out bad actions. So make sure they're filing cases manually, very important. And also, they should be taking a cut of what they win. In other words, you shouldn't be charged up front. If they find you $1,000, they should be taking a percentage of that, but you shouldn't be paying anything up front. On to the don'ts. Don't ship late and don't mark orders as shipped when they aren't. There is no time where it is more important to ship on time and to not give into that temptation to mark things as shipped if they haven't gone out. Because if you do that during Q4, Amazon will not trust you. It gets so much harder to get merchant fulfilled privileges back. And a lot of times they'll give them back to you in March, in April, but they're not, if you get them cut off in November, they don't want to give them back, especially if it's for something devious, like marking orders as shipped when they're not. Same for order cancellation. You cannot afford to cancel orders. You just can't. And that doesn't mean that then you drop ship it from Walmart if you run out of the product. You've really got to be managing that inventory so you know exactly how many units you've got available at Amazon, and you're only allowing listings for what you've got in stock. Another thing is the jumping on the wrong ASIN to get a better ranking. This is super tempting around the holidays because sometimes there's, say, a toy that got repackaged. And maybe you've got the new packaging version and the old packaging version is much higher ranking and it's moving a lot faster and the price is higher. If it doesn't match, if the photo doesn't match, don't do it. Because if Amazon gets complaints about that, they consider that fraudulent behavior. And during fourth quarter, you just can't afford for your account to go down for that. It's going to be tough to overcome. And lastly, everyone's favorite frustration is back to the intellectual property complaints. Be really careful what you choose to sell in Q4 if it's going to get an IP complaint. So for example, anything Disney is risky because Disney is famous for saying that you're selling inauthentic or counterfeit goods or that you're violating their trademark when you're just reselling their products. So, there's a real risk reward. A lot of this is based on your personal risk profile and what you think is worth it for your business. And if you can only get five units of something with Cinderella on it, it's not worth your business. If it's something that's going to make or break your entire holiday season, maybe you'll decide it is worth the risk. But just keep in mind that if you're a smaller volume account, it only takes a few complaints for Amazon to shut down your account for IP. And then you've got this amount of time you're not selling during Q4, while you go through the appeal process. So this is me, Leslie at Riverbend Consulting. We have a special landing page for you. And I apologize, I have an offer page and I opened the wrong thing. I'll have to see if I can find it real quick. And it's not on there. Oh golly, apologies. I shall find it. But we have a special offer for you all. If only I can. Yep. It's not there.
I think I have the. Let me see if you can tell me whether I've got it right here or not. Let me.
I'm going to stop sharing real quick so he can share it with you. Yes. Thank you.
Teamwork makes the dream work, Leslie. Let's go.
It does. It absolutely does. So we have a really great service called account coverage. And that is where you pay a flat monthly fee. And if your account ever goes down for whatever reason, you get the fastest class of service for reinstatement. We have standard appeals where you're getting your appeals in 4 business days, during peak, maybe 5 business days. We have rapid service where it is in 1 business day. And that includes when you have follow-up appeals and escalations you have to do as 1 business day. So rapid account appeals start at $5,000 per appeal. So with this account coverage, if you pay an $80 a month fee, whenever your account goes down, we are here for you. You just call in or open a ticket and you are golden, and we will take care of it. Also, we have a member discount for 10% off of all of our other services. So I've got a URL, and if you want it, I'll put it in the chat.
If you want to put it in the chat, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Good.
So I will add that in there. And then I would love to answer any questions anyone has about, oh, I didn't say anything about brand registry. Quick, I need to do that.
And before even that, did you put it in the chat already? Or not yet?
There it is.
Oh, there you go. I just want to make sure we had it. Sorry, yes, you were about to start on brand registry. Yeah.
Really quick here. So brand registry, a couple of years ago, Amazon did brand registry 2.0, and everyone thought this was going to solve all of their problems with protecting their content on their ASINs. And that hasn't exactly happened. But now we have all these new challenges. Amazon has started suspending people's brand registry. Sometimes your login will be totally taken down. Sometimes you just won't have the ability to add new ASINs or new brands or new users. Sometimes you lose your ability to report a violation. So if you're the brand owner and you can report a violation against your intellectual property, they will take that away. What's really upsetting for me, the vast majority of the cases that I have worked on these is the vast majority of these, they actually are false positives by Amazon. I have seen probably 2 or 3 where the seller that I was working with violated some kind of Amazon policy by over-reporting. And I've seen 1 or 2 where they accidentally over-reported. So Amazon didn't really have the right categories or drop downs, right? So they just filled in what seemed closest to them, and Amazon didn't like that. But the dozens of other cases I've worked on, the seller actually did nothing I would consider to be wrong. I have someone right now who lost their report of violation privileges for reporting copyright image infringement 2 times in 3 years. Both times the infringer removed the images, acknowledged they violated the copyright, and then my client rescinded the violation and told Amazon, we're good. That's how the system's supposed to work. And yet Amazon suspended their report of violation and we're having to appeal. So there's so much false positives right now around brand registry. And unfortunately, on the brand registry side of the house, their appeals process isn't as developed as it is over in seller performance. So any questions? Anything I can help with or answer? I think there was a question earlier about
Angela's Angela asked, can Leslie please define inauthentic ASIN? How is that different from counterfeit?
So when something is inauthentic, and Angela, you and I both know it usually probably isn't actually inauthentic. Inauthentic complaints come from buyers. So that is where someone has purchased your item and then they are claiming to Amazon that it is not authentic. It's not the actual brand. It's a knockoff. It's not what they expected. Counterfeit is usually from a brand owner report. So that usually comes from a brand owner who's reporting you for IP infringement, for counterfeit. Technically speaking, if they're really doing the right thing, they either should know that their chain of custody is completely locked down. There's no way you should have it, which is rare, or they should do a test buy of the product to make sure it's actually counterfeit. Occasionally, you can get a counterfeit that's actually initiated by Amazon. So they will investigate sometimes expensive brands in the warehouse. Like if you're selling a Coach bag, if you're selling something really expensive, they might actually go pull it in the warehouse and look at it, especially if y'all know how like Apple and Samsung have had lawsuits against Amazon. They've been all over Amazon. So sometimes like if you're selling an Apple AirPod and you get approved for that, they might just go pull them in the warehouse and make sure that they think they're real. So sometimes counterfeit can come through that, but most of the time it is a brand owner claiming that it is a counterfeited item.
Very cool. There we go. Manya, yep.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. So Manya says, you mentioned that AMZ likes suppliers to be searchable. When you say suppliers, does that mean sellers need to have websites as well?
Not the seller necessarily, just the people you're buying goods from. So if you're buying from a distributor, a wholesaler, or a brand, if you try and look at their invoices the way that an investigator would. We've had clients that have given us invoices. We search the address on the invoice, the physical address, and the supplier, it's showing in the middle of a field. Or it's showing a barber shop. I mean, some really wild stuff. We had one that was literally in the middle of the lake. A lake was where I don't even know how that had an address, but when you put the address in Google, you got in the middle of a pond or a lake. So they want to be able to search an address, use Google Earth and see it's an actual building that matches. And they want to see a website that they can click through to see that it's an actual legitimate business. There are very few businesses now that don't have a website now. I know there are a lot of wheeler dealers out there who are suppliers who don't have a website, but a lot of times they're getting liquidation inventory. They don't have formal relationships with manufacturers, and Amazon doesn't love that. So that's one reason that they assume you should have a website if you're a supplier. So I see one here from Ben saying, what is the best way to get authenticity customer complaints removed? Which is a great question. So on those, Amazon typically asks you for invoices is the first thing that they will do. So just like we were just talking about, you've got to have good quality invoices. And usually they ask for invoices covering the last 180 days of sales. So you go back from the date of the complaint that pops up in seller performance. You go back 180 days from that. You look at how many units you sold. And so all of your invoices need to be reliably covering that period of time. Like you could have bought those items and sold them or fed them into the warehouse by the time you got that complaint. If it's a highly returned item, keep that in mind because sometimes Amazon will actually think you need to cover more units than you do because something was returned 10 units and then those were all turned around and resold. That can catch you sometimes. If Amazon asks for a plan of action around an authenticity complaint, usually what you need to talk about is vetting your suppliers. You need to talk about where you got it, why you know it's legit, what you do to vet your suppliers in general, how you can improve that process in the future. You can also talk about product quality. That could be bumps on the box, shelfware of any kind, open packages. People will over-report inauthentic for all kinds of reasons. So just think about the type of product it is and why you think it was actually taken down. Also head over to Voice of the Customer. Sometimes in Voice of the Customer, it'll show people's complaints about why they thought something wasn't real.
Yeah, that's and I know Ben, I know you've been dealing with things that you're trying to work through there. I know Mustafa also asks us, yeah, how do you know if you are doing it right or if we need assistance? Kind of a broad question, but of course,
No,
yeah, go ahead, Les.
Yeah, so I'm going to take some guesses at what you're saying, Mustafa, on like dealing with seller performance issues. And that's actually a really great question. So if you have an item suspended, if you have an ASIN suspended, most people can do their first appeal on an ASIN. And a lot of times you get it right. You get it reinstated. When you need assistance on the ASIN level is when that account health rating starts to drop significantly and you're not building it back up. If your account health rating is under 500, I would say, hey, I think I might need some help to get these complaints resolved. Or if your appeals are failing over and over again, and you're not able to get ASINs reinstated, Amazon does care about patterns. And so a pattern of data they might see in your account is, okay, so I see that Mustafa had 5 IP complaints and 5 inauthentic complaints, and he appealed all 10 of them, and only 2 got reinstated. They don't like that because they're like, why aren't we accepting his appeals? Is he doing something he's not supposed to? Which we all know that you're not. You just didn't say the magic words they wanted to hear. So if something looks like a bad pattern of data, it might be time to reach out and get some help. If you ever get your account suspended, so there are times when, if you don't feel confident that you know why you're suspended, you should talk to somebody. Because Amazon, I've had clients who will respond to Amazon like, can you tell me why? Or I don't see any bad data, or why did you do this? And that just makes them mad. They expect you to know why you were suspended, even though sometimes it is not clear at all. So if you're unclear on the reason for the suspension and you can't find it in the data, you should probably reach out for help. A lot of people will appeal themselves for an account suspension for inauthentic or for product condition, especially for late shipment, order defect rate, or for canceled orders, where I recommend that you get a professional immediately, and me or someone else, but don't do it yourself if you get suspended for code of conduct or review manipulation. Those are high stakes. What you send the first time matters. If they look at your first appeal and decide they don't like it, they tend to get unresponsive very quickly. And so then you have to start escalating to all kinds of email addresses that are not public email addresses. It gets very hard very fast.
That's super insightful. And Maurice asked, I know you touched upon kind of the insert topic a little bit, but he just says, does Amazon not care about inserts or QR code stickers that don't mention anything having to do with reviews?
So that depends on where the QR code goes. They do not want you to redirect a buyer to a website that is not Amazon. So even if you legitimately, it's your own brand, it's your own private label product. And so in the real regular world where you get a product off the shelf at the Walmart, you expect to see a QR code that goes to your brand. Amazon doesn't like that because they think you're trying to steal the buyer from them. So they want anything to actually direct to your product page on Amazon so that you're not trying to steal the customer relationship.
I always, back in the old sales tax discussion days, I always joke, it's like Amazon, it's like, it's our customer. You're like, we own the customer. And it comes to sales tax, like, oh, no, it's your customer. You need to collect the sales tax and make sure you take care of it. We didn't mean that. It's our customer. It's right. It's like, wait, I thought it was your customer. So, no,
not if it's inconvenient.
Yeah, so that is always an interesting one there. But, and Andrea asked, I assume that includes social media. I guess your comment around where you direct them.
Yes, and actually that brings up a great topic, which is Facebook groups and chatbots. A lot of sellers are taught by courses out there and gurus out there that traffic off Amazon, that Amazon doesn't detect it. And that's 100% not true. Amazon has reciprocal enforcement agreements to share data with Facebook and with other social media platforms and other large e-commerce platforms. And they do this to prevent fraud, but they also do it to prevent things that the FTC comes after them for, which includes review abuse and platform manipulation. So we have had many sellers we've worked with who they were offering like free product through those groups on Facebook where they just give away products so people then give reviews. And then Amazon will find all of those. They find it by the links directing the traffic, and then they find it by the reciprocal agreements. They also do not like the chat bots where you get followers on Facebook and then you send them a message and offer them the free product. If, give me the order number, the code, I'll give you a discount, I'll PayPal you, I'll give you a rebate, all those things. They find it. And it's actually shocking to me sometimes what they find, but just keep in mind, the National Security Administration of the United States of America, which collects all of the metadata for phone calls around the United States, and all kinds of other information. They use Amazon's AWS servers. So if they can crunch all of that data about the metadata for your phone calls, I promise you, they can find your chatbot.
I mean, they can crack down on our search, find, buys? Impossible. They'll never get us now. No, it's right back in the, and things go in waves too, like, because, a few years back, obviously things like search, find, buy, which is what, of course, you were just describing, was very prevalent because most people said, hey, Amazon seems to be okay with it to some extent. It wasn't that clear. And then that kind of changed. Amazon signaled clearly that they were not okay, no longer okay with it. So yeah, even stuff like the review groups, we had review groups and we started selling in 2011, 12, but we put up our own Facebook review group. It grew to like 20,000 members in no time. And all of a sudden one day it just got shut down by Facebook. Now that you bring up this point, I'm like, oh yeah, there must have been some collaboration around it. And we didn't even do anything to promote the group. It just grew naturally, but there was a lot of like shady participants on there and people like ripping each other off on there. So the good news I view is like back when we were first selling and grew our business big, we had to there was few options to compete at that level than to kind of do more black hat aggressive stuff. And, I think it's a healthier marketplace where there's certainly plenty of loopholes that people try to jump through still, but it pays off trying to follow the rules and build actual real brands and do it the right way, more so than ever in the past, which I think is, a good thing for most of us who don't want that stress or, aren't wired that way to, you're trying to build it the right way anyways. You just need to know what's okay to do and what's not.
Right. And what you were talking about back in 2011, 2012, there was no guidance on that from Amazon. There was just silence. They weren't enforcing on that. And then I think they're
making the stuff up. Yeah, we came up with the strategies. It was, we had, tons of computers buying our own products, and but that stuff just evolves until rules get in place. And there was a lot less focus on the quality of the brand and all that kind of stuff. And now it's better for the seller and the consumer, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Let me see if, Mustafa added that. Yeah. Andrea asked a question about social media. I think we covered that. If there's any other questions we didn't cover, feel free to put it in the chat here. This has been a really good Q&A. And, yeah, Leslie, your team grew so big. That's like, when did you guys start the company? And I'm curious how you guys, obviously you guys have done a good job because you've grown to that size.
Now, we started up 6 years ago, and at the time we were just focused on account appeals and ASIN appeals. And then we've gradually added some more services because I think a lot of sellers, they like being a one-man business or a family business or a five-guy business. So they like outsourcing. So we've tried to make ourselves a team where we can handle outsourced tasks for people. I know that I haven't touched my own reimbursements the entire time I've owned Riverbend because accounting's not my thing. And going through those reports would make me go blind. And I don't really love spreadsheets that much. So I've got some really great people who do that for me. And I think it's the same for a lot of sellers. Also, unfortunately, y'all know this, Amazon is the least friendly company on the planet to do business with. They're very difficult. In reality, should my business even exist if they were doing a great job for third-party sellers and vendors? Because we work with vendors too. They got problems too. We really shouldn't exist. But as Amazon has grown and expanded, added more services, every service they offer you and they try to get you to buy as a seller is an opportunity for them to mess up. So like their stickering service, don't do it. Their logistics service, don't do it. All these services, don't do it, because it is, I end up appealing all these things. I appeal the bad stickering and, you know, all the inventory was stickered wrong. I appeal the Amazon Global Logistics and how they didn't get someone's inventory in for Christmas because they screwed up the customs and they missed the whole Christmas season and charged them $40,000. It's everything they do. There's no accountability. So I think that's why we're here.
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned we were out at the Amazon event a few weeks back. I always want to call it Innovate. What was it? Accelerate? One of it out in Seattle a few weeks back. And Joey's podcast was featured out there, which was cool. It's one of the Fearless Sellers podcast was Amazon brought us in for that one. But one of their first big announcement was their new revamped global logistics version of it. And, you know, I was talking to some of our friends in the logistics industry, and I was kind of joking with them because they know, they're like, oh, they're not going to be able to do it, and the pricing's is way off and blah, blah, blah. So to your point, I was getting a kick out of when I heard them announce some of those things. But what is it? So Rhonda has a question, says, do you have a grading system where we can give our own accounts a grade to see if we are safe?
That is an excellent question. So there are a few different places that I would monitor. We have a whole formula. We actually have a thing we do where we're reviewing people's accounts. So like for acquisition, the buyer wants to make sure they're safe and that they're okay. But if you're just doing a quickie for yourself, you need to go into seller performance and look at your performance notifications, the actual text ones. Sometimes things show up in there that don't show up on the scorecard. The scorecard is in the middle where it's got all the numbers for like IP complaints and authenticity complaints, all that stuff. Now on that scorecard, it has your account health rating at the top. If you're in the green, that's awesome. Don't freak out if you're low-ish, if you're green. That can happen if you're a low volume seller. So if you're a low volume seller, you're never going to hit 1,000. You're not even going to hit 600. If you're a high volume seller, you should be 600, 700, 800 or more. What you really want to look at in that middle scorecard area is the number of complaints you have, and you really need to appeal those. In the past, I would tell people you don't have to appeal everything. If it's something that you don't intend to sell again, leave it alone. Well, now because of that account health score, I really encourage people to appeal absolutely everything that is there, or in the case of the suspected IP complaints, get the inventory page fixed so they'll remove the complaint. And the reason is, we've seen people who had great scores, and then all of a sudden they got a couple of IP complaints and their score went to 0, just literally overnight. I don't fully understand Amazon's formula for that number. They don't tell anyone, and it seems different for different accounts, honestly. Like for some accounts, you could take 2 accounts with the same volume of sales. One of them get 2 IP complaints and the other one get 2 IP complaints, and one will go to 0 and the other one is still at 500. And it's really hard to discern why. So I would really suggest that you appeal everything you can, and then see if your appeals get accepted. If they're not accepted, I'll give you a big hint. When we escalate, the first place we escalate. So let's say you've got a great appeal or it was bad enforcement and you want to ask, hey, I really want this ASIN reinstated. You take it to a team called Executive Seller Relations. Now, they now answer the email for the Jeff@amazon.com email address. We all know Jeff's not there anymore. I know. But write to jeff@amazon.com and have a compelling subject line. Send it from the email address associated with your Amazon account, your login email, and address it. Here's the key: Dear Executive Seller Relations, so that they know that you know that they're them and not Jeff. And then somewhere in your appeal, write your A number, which is your token for your account, your store number. That way they'll look it up, and your escalation needs to very quickly say, here's my problem, here's what I did to fix it, and nobody's helping me. Will you do this or that? Will you reinstate this ASIN? Will you refer to my appeal and fix it? So the other thing to know is be sure, the email is just jeff@amazon.com. And it's the title of the group is Executive Seller Relations. So other thing to always keep an eye on is voice of the customer. A lot of the voice of the customer data is garbage, but a lot of it's good. Read those comments for the people that are in the red, right? Or the ASINs that are in the red, and figure out if you need to actually discontinue selling those products. And then of course, keep an eye on things like ODR and all of those metrics from Amazon that you need to watch for. But really these days, every single thing in that scorecard, you need to keep an eye on and appeal.
Awesome. Manya asked another question, says, what are the products that tend to not have many complaints?
That is an excellent question. I love that. Things to avoid. I know a lot of people make a lot of money off supplements. That category is rough. That category is like UFC fighters clawing each other's eyes out. I mean, if you want to end your life every day, you get up from your desk and you've got blood and broken bones sticking out, then sell supplements, because that's what it's like over there.
You're talking to Maurice here. Well, we always say, because we blew up in the cell phone, I get my background in cell phone accessory space, but we always needed cell phone accessories space in our in supplements were like the two most competitive for different reasons, but both kind of bloodbaths in their own way, kind of us with our Chinese competitors and just the dynamics of that, all the SKUs and everything we have, but yeah, and then Maurice, which is great wide. Maurice is great with the coaching. Maurice is crying.
Yeah,
Maurice has been selling supplements for a good while. He's done well, but it's not easy, right? Which is why he's a great coach to help other people here, because he's been through a lot with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're good at it, you can make bank. The people who are really great at it do really well. Their margins are amazing, but it's incredibly competitive. There's lots of black hats, and then the enforcement from Amazon is really tough. And they keep upping the ante. They keep making it harder because you have to have higher quality, you have to have better manufacturers. So that's a rough category. Then, like you said, electronics and electronics accessories, that's a really rough category for the same reasons. Also, QA on products is really rough. I love things that don't move. So products that don't have moving parts are great. Things with batteries are bad. Because of all the fees that, with sending stuff to the warehouse, and they don't like things with fees. Topicals can be difficult. Also, you have to have separate approval for that. However, there's a lot of great beauty out there. If you can think of things that people can't hurt themselves with. So like soaps and body washes, it's still a topical. You have to get topicals approval, but those can be really nice. I know a lot of folks who do well in those categories. Toys and games are hot. And I think a lot of the reason is they're cheap to produce a lot of times. A lot of them are just card based. And they're harder to rip off because they've got a lot of pieces, or they're not worth the trouble. Those can be really exciting with all the new marketing on TikTok. We've seen a lot of people doing well with that. Clothing's really hard. Shoes, there's too many returns. I'm really telling you all the things that are a problem. Housewares is competitive, but can be really great. I know a lot of houseware sellers who make bank as well, especially in the kitchen area. It kind of went down a while after the COVID recovery, but now it seems to be going back up. So there's a lot to love. Really, I think the magic is finding a niche that's still not filled, or where you can do something really awesome. I know some guys who specialize in finding products that are hot and then getting a licensing agreement with someone, so to make it cooler. So if you're selling a pet product, then you brand it Animal Planet and get a licensing agreement, or you sell some kind of a tent and you go get a Mickey Mouse licensing agreement. Even in the filled up niches, if you can do licensing, those are really, really, really good, and they're safe ASINs because people can't jump on them. They're just yours. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's really good perspective. And what's funny, well, it makes sense that you can, off the tip of your tongue, nail all of the ones that have the most problems, because those are the ones you're going to interact with the most, right? Your team and everything else. So you've seen it the most. So that's good perspective. And then Maurice did say kind of part 2, which was his question about the inserts. Says, what if you add an option to the website? The insert takes the customer with a link that would redirect them to your Amazon brand store. He's basically trying to ask, I guess, if that would alleviate or help.
No, they don't like that.
Come on, he's selling in supplements. He's got to, he's doing everything. He's battling.
Yeah. So, and this is another one of those things too, that it depends on your personal risk profile and what you can handle. The crying more. Yeah. There are lots of folks who will grab onto these strategies, and they'll use them for a long time and not ever get caught. And they word things as generically as possible, try and not make it seem like they're, trying to bend the rules, and they can get away with it. On the other hand, I know a couple of supplements, specifically brands, shut down for review manipulation is tough. Platform manipulation is tough because it's the only suspension that it's 2 strikes and you're out, and that there's no exceptions, none, 0 that I know of. Even like people who are friends with executives at Amazon, 2 strikes, done. Whereas I've gotten people back from code of conduct 3 times. Not often, but it's happened. But review manipulation now, today, it's 2 and you're out. So there are 2 brands I've worked with on platform manipulation for supplements that lost their entire brand over this kind of stuff, and had warehouses full of inventory that they then tried to sell off to other Amazon sellers, and then Amazon shut down those sellers. So it's really about what you can tolerate risk wise. I always think about, y'all know the Bugs Bunny cartoons with the anvil above the head and it's like floating up there and then it finally falls. Can you live with the anvil up there and waiting for it, or can you not?
That's a coyote, right?
You're right.
Roadrunner.
That's the Roadrunner and the Coyote. Yeah, but if you can handle that being up there, you're good. But if you can't, then no.
Sure. Yeah. No,
I'm sorry, Maurice. I'm no fun.
Maurice can handle it. He's a fellow Texas. He's in Texas as well too. He's been successful with his supplements. He does well. But awesome. Well, Leslie, this was super helpful and insightful. I know we put back up there earlier. I'll just copy and paste it so you guys, because I know there's a lot of questions. I'll put it back on here. If anyone's looking to take advantage, you can reach out to the link, or obviously reach out to us on Voxer. If I guess, is that the best way for people to get in contact with you guys, is just go to that link? Is there any other way, or anything else as far as if people questions or anything else? I guess, yeah,
that link is fantastic. And then also anyone who wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, I love to be connected on LinkedIn, and then you can direct message me any questions. And I put up Amazon oriented content almost every day, and talk about, trends and suspensions and success stories. And some of the success stories are just to show you what can be overcome. I think we all kind of assume things can't be overcome. And I want you to know you can get your Kindle direct publishing account back, things like that. Oh, and Brianna's saying you can also email us at partners@riverbendconsulting.com. That's in the chat. So I'd love to hear from any of you, or connect on LinkedIn, or go through that offer link.
Very cool. Well, cool. All of our current mentorship members, this will be in your replay section there in the in our Pro Academy. And then yeah, really interesting discussion. You know, Leslie, I enjoyed again, it's like you said about certain aspects of the business. Not one person is an expert and spends all day on every aspect. You know, we can't. So it's really interesting to get this. And I guess for my thing for people is don't be scared of, the information. It's more important to have information, understand solutions than to feel like, you're kind of in the dark. And so that's why, and again, a lot of people in our community have been asking about these topics or just one-offs. People had some of the questions over here, people had this issue or that issue. You're certainly not alone. And it's great to have people that are, kind of best in class to handle this stuff. So that is awesome. Well, good stuff. And then what about for yourself? Any more events? Are you going to any more events this year, or your team, or anything? Or what's your schedule look like for in the Amazon community coming up?
So we're going to be at AMZ Innovate in New York City. That's coming up in a few weeks. And then we're going to be at Camp Ecom in January. Those are the next two that we have coming up.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Brandon's event over there, January. That's cool. Yeah. That was a good event as well too. And yeah, Deacon says, thank you. Something to think about in advance. Yep. Because some of you guys are earlier stages. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's stuff to know from the beginning, and things change too over time. So if we have you guys back on, next year or something, there's always a few new updates, kind of like the brand registry stuff. Like I really hadn't heard about that. So there's always, ebbs and flows, but if you can stay guys in the feedback loop of the information, which is, part of our role here. But I also love that LinkedIn too. I'll definitely check out your LinkedIn too as well too, because that is helpful to stay on top of this stuff. So awesome. Well, cool. I hope you guys got really good value. The Q&A I thought was one of our best that we've had. So a lot of great questions, and you guys took advantage of having Leslie here as our guest expert. So Leslie, really appreciate it. I know you've got, it says, Lori says, very helpful question or exclamation mark. Thank you. Andrea, thank you. Mike, Ashley, thank you for your time, everyone. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Leslie. Any final words before we wrap up?
Well, thanks so much for inviting me. It was really great to be here. Y'all asked great questions. And just remember, don't be afraid of these issues. Like Jamie said, this isn't a place for fear. To me, all of these are just problems to be solved until Amazon completely tells me that it can't be solved. I always assume it can, and most of the time it can. So just keep that in mind, that a lot of this is persistence. It's not being perfect. And if we can ever be of assistance for any of y'all, we'd love to talk to you more. Thanks. And thanks for being so patient with my tech problems earlier, y'all.
No, that was awesome. Yeah, Deborah says so much info. Thank you. Ben, again, I know Ben's working through some things here. I'll be in touch he says, since I have some issues on my account.
Awesome.
Andrew says, awesome. This was great. Well, cool. Leslie, hopefully we look forward to seeing you hopefully in person at one of these next Amazon events. We'll track you down there to say hello. And
great.
Thank you for the time today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.